Ian, thank you very much for your kind introduction. As you were introducing me, I couldn't help but think of my predecessor, David Johnston. I think of him quite often, and days that I don't think of him, he calls me and says, well, how come you're not thinking of me? So, but as some of you may recall, when he was being introduced to speak at an event, he will get up and say, well, while you were introducing me, I was praying for both of us, was praying for you for telling all the lies about me, and I was praying for myself for enjoying it. So I'm genuinely delighted to be with you all today. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here to speak into you distinguished number of people here. In your leadership of the Chamber and the leadership of your chairman, Brian Bennett, have been invaluable to this community. The Chamber's advocacy for local business is a very important voice in the Waterloo region. When you consider that small and medium-sized enterprises in Canada employ nearly 2/3 of private sector workers here. So that shows clearly how important the work and your activities to advocate for the business in this region is. And that's why the University of Waterloo considers the Chamber to be an important partner. Our work together so often overlaps, and so does our vision for an innovative and prosperous Waterloo region, Ontario, Canada, and the world. I just read a new article today. Tim Jackson sent it to me this morning. It just came out, and it comes from the University of Toronto. It's about the innovation, the new ecosystem of innovation, talks about various aspects of innovation. But there was a good section in it talking about the University of Waterloo and what it was doing for this region. And I was delighted to see that. And I could have just easily brought that article here and said, well, here's my speech, read it, and that will be fine. But I also couldn't help thinking about some macro level, but also micro level challenges that we're all facing here. I'm going to talk about some of these macro level challenges, but there are some other types of challenges that I believe both the Chamber and the University are very seriously looking at those. When one of the greatest challenge, of course, for me, for the university, to attract the highest quality talent to come here to work, to study, to teach. And quite often, two things are thrown in front of me. One is the difficulty in reaching this region, transportation. And the other one is a difficulty in securing family health care. And quite often, I run into a situation, a really prominent faculty member is not discussing about his or her salary, but saying, well, can you secure me a family doctor if I come to your region? And I think Chamber is helping us, helping the region in both accounts. The new announcement about the Highway 7 that we will do, it will be rebuilt, and also Chamber's very serious advocacy towards bringing more family doctors to this region has been very helpful. So, in recognition of that, Ian, I'm very pleased to announce that the University of Waterloo will be making a contribution to the physician recruitment program that you're spearheading. I asked him, I said, how much money are we giving? He said, it's modest. Modest is a relative term at Waterloo, could be anywhere, but it is to encourage others to join us in making such contributions. So just as the Chamber has been busy leveraging its strengths to build a strong Waterloo region, the University of Waterloo has also been hard at work on our innovation agenda. We're going to talk about innovation a lot. I'm going to use the word innovation quite a bit. And some of my friends sometimes remind me that maybe we are overusing this word, innovation. I argue against that we have been underusing it and we cannot talk enough about innovation. So bear with me for the next little while that I'm going to talk quite a bit about innovation everywhere, including in our businesses, universities, governments, everything we do, we have to talk about innovation. Because it simply means advancement and improvement in all its forms. It is also the primary source for advanced ideas. In business terms that you will all be familiar with, innovation is often thought of the terms of productivity, in terms of productivity. Of course, it carries other more specific business meanings as well, such as process innovation, product innovation, market innovation, and organizational innovation. And of course, it applies to all organizations, including universities, from how we teach, what we teach, and how we grow tomatoes. It goes everywhere, everything that we do. But why are we talking about innovation so intensely now? Did people 100 years ago talk about innovation, or they just went on their business as usual? Yes, innovation has been in existence for a long while, but it is now that we are seeing a tremendous importance of innovation, more so than ever in our history. Just to remind you, today, 50% of the United States economy is fueled by those companies that have been established in the past decade. This is a very important number. 50% of the richest country in the world, its economy is fueled by those companies that have been established within the 10, 12 year period. What happens to the other ones if they don't change? If they don't innovate, then they will simply disappear. In our world, the academic world, this is again, many of you will be familiar, many faculty members will know this as soon as they start their career, that publish or perish. We change this to innovate or perish now. If you're not innovating, our organizations, the universities or businesses, will not be in existence for long. It is absolutely critical, as again, an American business leader, Jack Welch, said, if change is happening faster on the outside than on the inside, then the end is in sight. That's what it's all about. Whether you're innovating as a business, a university, or a society as a whole, for an entity to thrive within the context of its environment, it must outpace the challenges inherent to that environment. This holds true to the context of a specific regional marketplace and the global society. And I specifically used the global society, and some of you will again wonder, why global? We are in the region of Kitchener-Waterloo. Why are we talking about global issues? Because, arguably, for the first time in recorded history, there are such things as global challenges. These include climate change, major demographic shifts, and economic turmoil. Let me begin with climate change and however caused. We can be here all day and all night and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow talking about why is climate change happening and whether there is such thing as climate change. I'm very interested in that discussion, but not here. What we know of that, we are seeing significant evidence of it, whether it's man-made, whether human beings are helping, whether it's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, or regardless of what we do, we cannot control the eruption of a volcano or how the Earth orbits. These are, whether we are helping it or not, that's not the subject here. The issue here, it is happening, we are witnessing it, and it has intensified weather-related challenges, impacting our daily lives. I'm sure that our friends in Waterloo's insurance community can speak to this very intelligently. Catastrophic weather-related damages to communities from Goderich to Slave Lake and beyond are lifting the curtain on the real-life impact of climate change. How is my globe? Yeah, it's there. Just a week or so ago, tornadoes ripped through New York City. Generally, this is not supposed to happen, but it did happen. More profoundly, climate change is impacting a diverse range of populations, from those living in the Arctic to those living in the heart of Africa. Some of you will recognize Canada's Mackenzie River Basin, a huge swath of territory straddling 6 provinces and territories, hosts many indigenous communities. It's a watershed that is 3 times the size of France. And yet, this basin is warming 3 times faster than the average global temperature increase. So imagine the size of it and imagine the change in temperature. It is a temperature change is 3 times faster. Its rate of temperature change is 3 times higher than the global change. What does it mean? It has already caused big forest fires and ecological imbalances there. As a result, the wildlife has been displaced, and it means something. Something is happening there that will affect all of us, even though it is thousands of miles away from us, for some of us. So this is why it is a global challenge as opposed to a local challenge, even though it's happening right here in Canada. But if you look at the African continent, a recent study that was done at the University of California at Berkeley, it showed that the likelihood of a civil war in Africa is 54 times higher because of the climate change. That is significant, again, that a civil war will break out in Africa because basically of access to fight to access the resources, basically. But it is at a time, and the most unfortunate time, as I will show you soon, that the African continent is primed for economic growth and democratic consolidation. What do we do about this? In my opinion, only innovation in how we secure agricultural production, water supply, and responsible uses of energy can protect global populations from the risks of climate change. Climate change is one of the world's truly common modern challenges. Of course, the other one is demography. Global shifts will define for the 21st century where key business opportunities lie and where public policy challenges will be most acute. What's happening with my slides? Next slide you're going to see when it comes on is about aging. We are aging. The slide would show you that in 2001, we had 10 working people for each retiree in this country. By year 2050, we will have only 3 working people for each retiree. This is a significant democratic change, at the same time challenge. Canada will move from being the 41st, I believe, oldest country in the world to 11th. So if we don't recognize these challenges, if we don't realize that, how are we going to support that retiree? How should that retiree still be able to enjoy the quality of life? But how can we make sure that the people who are supporting that retiree, they are also enjoying the quality of life here in this country. So we need to understand the challenges and be prepared for that. So if we want to maintain a strong retirement income supplement in this country, we need a thriving immigration system to shore up our employment base. But that's not the whole solution. And if we think that our immigration will solve all our problems, I think we will be making a big mistake. It will have to be a solid part of whatever it is that we will put in place, but it cannot be the only part. What is the other one then? Our economic input per capita needs to grow, and fast. This is why innovation and productivity are key to managing the deterioration in the ratio of worker to retiree. If we want to maintain a strong healthcare system, the same logic applies. Innovation and productivity are essential to managing the declining ratio of healthcare funder to healthcare user. These are demographic challenges, certainly, but there are also part of the broader economic challenge. Many economists now, they call our economy as a two-speed global economy. And this is exactly where we're living now. My next slide, what I've shown you, it's getting there, but I'm using my teaching ability to make you close your eyes and visualize that slide. That the growth in Africa and economic growth in other parts of the world, specifically in Africa, the Middle East, Latin America, those countries, that they outpace definitely the developed economies. It's right there that they are growing, their economies are growing at a much faster pace than our economy. Here is the aging one, and I can now, okay. Did I describe it well? You can see how fast on one side the African economy is growing year by year, and there's no indication that it's going to slow down, hopefully unless there's a civil war that we pray that it won't happen, and also the other countries, emerging economies, that their growth, the basis of their GDP, how they outpace the Western economies. So according to the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, these nations are leveraging strategic enablers like capital accumulation, technological catch-up, growing consumption, and natural resource availability. And there is no obvious or necessary end in sight for their rapid economic expansion. That was one part of the story, but this is happening while G8 nations bail each other out of financial insolvency, absorb credit downgrades, and play on the edges of fiscal cliffs. Canada may be the exception, thanks in part to the resiliency of businesses like yours, but our performance is excellent only in contrast to the tired group we traditionally associate with. And even then, our advantage is qualified. Despite strong total government R&D expenditure, Canadian enterprises invest less in R&D than their US counterparts. Canada is the blue bar there, and we can see where it is. It's the 15th among all OECD countries, and our productivity growth is weak against, again, the OECD average. At a time, the new knowledge and ideas emerging from research in general, but specifically from university research, are needed by society more than ever. Canada's business spending on R&D is about 1.1% of its GDP, well below the 1.6% OECD average. It is almost the half of what the US spends, and US businesses spend, and 1/3 of what the Swedish businesses spend. So there is definitely a significant need for the Canadian business to invest more in R&D. It is, again, I can't emphasize this enough, that this is happening at a time where innovation is the umbilical cord to the new competitiveness. But Canada ranks very high when it comes to education and educated population. Canada's workforce is highly educated, skilled, and multicultural. And Canada is a dominant producer of most natural resources. What is missing here? There is a missed opportunity here. That we have a well-educated population. We know the world well. Our population is a multilingual, multicultural population. The education level of our population, the percentage of university-educated people in Canada is much higher than many other countries. We are very proud of the quality of education in this country. We have abundant natural resources. So the ingredients are there, the people are there. I guess we just need to figure out how to cook and what to cook. So I would suggest that before that, however, our current focus on slower moving Western economies must shift. But more importantly, focus be put on the goods and services we produce and how we produce them. From climate change to demography to economic activity, innovation is the key to securing a bright future for generations to come. But we also recognize that the primary source of both new knowledge and graduates with advanced skills, or in other words, talent, is the business of, again, universities mostly, and specifically research universities. With the spread of high-speed communication all over the world, the University of Waterloo followed the global innovation model, where front-edge skills of its graduates are sought after by many employers around the world. And I used, again, my definition of innovation as the global innovation model. And one can argue that why is it not regional or even national? But I tried to make the case that our challenges today are of global scale and they are not regional. We may be living in this region, but the issues and challenges we're dealing with are of global nature and scale. Recently, again, another friend of mine reminded me that at some places, change happens not because people see the light, because they feel the heat. At Waterloo, our approach is different. We want to be ahead of that heat. We like to anticipate and then innovate, then implement, and do it all the time, continuously. As a university whose interest is the advancement of knowledge and its application for innovation, the University of Waterloo's perspective is this: we need to press down hard on the accelerator pedal for innovation. Innovation is the common denominator solution to the chief challenges of the 21st century, environmentally, demographically, and economically. So what is Waterloo doing about it? How are we innovating, and for what purposes? I don't know if you recognize any of them here. I don't. This is one of the pictures that we are very proud to show. In case you don't recognize one of the machines, it's called a typewriter there, by the way. As you know, most of you would know, Waterloo was founded on the idea of societal relevance. We traced our roots back to Waterloo regions and Canada's need for engineers to fuel rapid industrialization in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Waterloo was conceived as an enabler and sustainer of industrial growth. So we go from there to this, a student with his hard head standing in front of this giant multi-stage gas turbine compressor combo. That's the mechanical engineer in me, I had to say it. Where it all began, as you know, is Waterloo's cooperative education program, itself a signature innovation. Our co-op education program has revolutionized experiential learning at the university level and blazed an early trail into the field of applied science. This term, this fall 2012 term, Waterloo's co-op students are learning in and contributing to 60 countries around the world. Our total of 16,500, and Toronto Star challenged us today, they said it was 16,600. Co-op students earned $189 million in the 2011 and 12 academic year, drawing that pay from 3,500 employers. By taking their knowledge and ideas to the workplace and bringing industry experience back to the classroom, Waterloo Co-op students are keeping innovation in circulation. This is one of Waterloo's key contributions to innovation. We are catalyzing economic activity in other ways as well. In 2006, with help from the federal and provincial governments, Waterloo established the Accelerator Center, located on our North Campus, just north of Columbia Street. Accelerator, as the name implies, is designed to help embryonic companies through the stages of development, so they are ready to go to market with confidence and savvy. As of the end of 2011, 19 companies have been fully formed through Accelerator. 84 companies have been incubated with the warmth of $72 million in external funding. These companies have in turn already generated $43 million in revenue and created over 600 net new jobs, mostly in Waterloo region. It continues. Building on that success, Waterloo has established a radical new system of student entrepreneurship. We call it Velocity. Accelerator, Velocity, there's a trend there. So Tim, I'm thinking about the next big one as Warp, light speed. Velocity is a living and learning community that provides a unique entrepreneurial environment right on our main campus. Students are given access to the latest technologies and the opportunity to learn from an expansive work of mentors and other entrepreneurs. The Velocity project has been very productive, so we doubled down. Again, talking to a person who is very much involved with entrepreneurship some time ago, our conversation was about the student experience and the quality of education in Canada. This person went to the United States for his graduate education, and he mentioned that in the first week or so after he started, he was quite nervous that other graduate students from universities like Stanford and Princeton and other places, they will know a lot more than he would. But in a very short time, he realized that his knowledge level was even higher than theirs. He had nothing to worry about as far as the depth of his knowledge went. He was very proud of the quality of education he had received in Canada for his undergraduate studies. But he said one thing was very obvious that was missing. By the way, he's not a University of Waterloo graduate. He said the exposure wasn't there. All of those students had been exposed to the world outside the university. They had significant exposure to other businesses, industries, but most importantly, to business leaders. That is what he thought that was lacking in his education. And this is exactly the vision idea behind Velocity. Velocity, it's a residence. Students live there. We pick those students who are academically very strong, but most of, I was going to say all our students, I should say all our students are very strong academically. But the ones who are picked, they have an extra qualification, that is their entrepreneurial spirit. And how do we really work on that entrepreneurial spirit? That is by exposing them to the leaders who will mentor them, who will further discuss their ideas to give as much breadth to their incredible depth that they have already received. That is the success behind the Velocity residence. So the next version of this is, of course, we called it the Velocity Garage. In 2010, the Velocity Garage was created as an extension of the Velocity program to provide UW student entrepreneurs with free space to kickstart their companies and make successful startups. In less than 4 years, the Velocity program has led to the creation of 34 companies, providing more than 200 jobs and attracting over 30 million in venture capital. In a country with comparatively weak venture capital systems, this is highly important. I underline the importance of this, that these are our students. Most of them, they have started these companies while they are still studying at the university and successfully graduating. And I can't tell you how important this is, and how important it is for us to have many, many more entrepreneurial students like the ones that I talked to you about. And we have, this is part of our plans, this is part of our challenge to increase that number as much as we like, because this is exactly what our economy needs, this is exactly what our country needs. I talk to a lot of students as they are graduating, as they are receiving their degrees at convocation. I add more nervousness to their already nervous time that they're on stage. I ask them, what are you doing next? What are your plans? What are you going to do with your wonderful University of Waterloo degree? Some of them will say, I'm going to a grad school here and there. Some of them will say, I have a job here in Waterloo, or I have a job in Seattle or in California, but they're very happy that they have a job. But the growing number of them will say, I have already started my own company. And I can't tell you, I try not to cry then, but it's absolutely a fabulous moment for me to hear that confident voice that I have started my own company. It is not as secure as I have a job and I will have a monthly salary. I have my own company. I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat next month, but I have started my own company. That is fabulous. So, what's missing? What else is needed? Strong IP policies are also very important. As business people, you know how critical intellectual property is to business success. It has been recently estimated that intellectual property represents 45 to 75% of corporate value among the largest Fortune 500 companies. A good IP license can be equally pivotal to the success of SMEs. At Waterloo, we incent the development of IP through our Creator Owns IP policy. This is an anomaly. Any IP developed by any Waterloo innovator belongs to that person alone. This is in contrast to most US institutions and the vast majority of Canadian institutions. This is the right way to do it, however. You create your IP, it belongs to you. This is the best way to encourage as many students, as many faculty members as we can to really create their own IPs, in addition to their excellent academic and research activities. If a Waterloo innovator wants professional support to maximize their potential of their IP and tap its value, they can use our homegrown resource, the Waterloo Commercialization Office, or we call it simply WATCO. When we consider that Ontario outputs 55% fewer patents compared to peer jurisdictions in the US, 55%, again, is a significantly less number of patents. It is vital that the Waterloo sustain and extend our leadership role in IP patent development and commercialization. We are proud of our contributions to economic activity and innovation in this region and in this country. We are equally proud of the other and equal element of innovation at our institution. Innovation in our research agenda, which support advancements in social and environmental progress. Let me illustrate how Waterloo is innovating through our pro-innovation research agenda. This was Watco. Somebody is helping somebody commercialize, so pass that one. I talked about aging, and we can talk about aging again for a long time, but what are we really doing about it? Is our job just to sensitize the population that we are aging and scare everybody with the kind of graphs I showed you? Or we are really adding some depth into this? We are. The Schlegel University of Waterloo Research Institute for Aging, for example, is designed to enhance the care of older adults in both community-based and long-term care environments. The RIA is an outstanding example of collaboration and innovation in Waterloo region. It draws on the vision and resources of industry leaders like RBJ Schlegel, public funding through the government partnership, academic research from the University of Waterloo, and applied teaching and learning from Conestoga College, a four-way partnership. A significant amount of new knowledge is being generated, but significant amount of education is taking place on a subject that we know very little about. At the same time, significant business opportunities are being created. It's a model for other communities, and it showcases this region's collaborative spirit beautifully. This was a picture from last year. I'm very proud to say that this is the picture shows our Quantum Nano Research Center. And we, after many, many years of hard work, this building is ready to be open this Friday. We will do the official opening this Friday. But it's a remarkable story to think the vision behind this building. Buildings are meaningless. Buildings are bricks and mortars and glass and steel if there is nothing happening in them. There's no people in them, and there's either new knowledge or talent are not being created inside these buildings. This is a building where the world is being changed in this building. It has been able to attract absolutely the top researchers from around the world, and it is continuing to attract more of this. The Myconophilia lazaridis Quantum Nano Center is an example of philanthropy, vision, and research excellence coming together. It's a brand new facility that hosts the Institute of Quantum Computing and Waterloo Institute for Nanotechnology. It's an award-winning architectural and technological marvel, and it will produce innovations that change the world. There's a very inexpensive building, only $160 million we spent on it, so it better be good. I don't know if you saw this, but recently Waterloo Quantum Research was in the news. Breakthrough research from Waterloo helped an international team teleport. It's Dr. Scott, right? Captain Scott. We teleport. You heard me right, teleport. Tiny bits of information from one geographic location to another. This is the future of quantum computing, and Waterloo is making it happen. But we will still build that Highway 7 rebuild. It is too early for that. Innovations in quantum computing have the potential to revolutionize cybersecurity and data processing power. We don't even know what we don't know about this technology's potential. But we are leading the world, thanks to the vision and generosity of individuals like Myconophilia lazaridis, and to the Waterloo's ability to attract the brightest minds from around the world. My next quick example is water. I can't tell you again how important this subject is. It is another global challenge that has to be addressed at the global scale, and this is exactly what the university is doing by establishing a Water Institute that brings together 120 researchers from various disciplines. The importance of water was recognized some time ago, and our university responded then. As John F. Kennedy said some time ago, anybody who can solve the problems of water will be worthy of 2 Nobel Prizes, one for peace and one for science. That shows you how globally important this is. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I don't know what time it is, but I think I've already exceeded my allotted time. Where are we going? I can't help showing you the previous slide, however. You could see the importance of water. By year 2030, that's the shortage we are going to see. The whole world is going to see 40%. If we're not prepared for this, if we do not plan for this, if we don't innovate, at the same time, if we do not align our businesses accordingly, if we don't change our business practice and take advantage of this 40% shortage, which represents $40 billion of business potential, okay, then the businesses will be missing out on this one. Whether it's generating economic activity, helping to prepare society for major demographic shifts, or combating climate change, universities have a special role to play in innovation. That's because the universities are the natural nexus for the key enablers of innovation. Universities have the freedom of inquiry, the community partnerships, the access to public and private resources, the long view and global view perspective on time and place, the policy instruments like co-op education and liberal IP policies, and the global academic linkages to catalyze innovation more robustly and more comprehensively than any other pillar of society. Which is why we are reaching out to you, to our government partners, to our peer institutions around the world, and we are building partnerships to benefit society. The environmental, demographic, and economic challenges facing global society, and Western society perhaps most acutely, are large and they are powerful. But they are no more large, no more powerful than our imaginations and our ability to innovate a brighter future together. Thank you very much for listening to me.